Okay, so here goes a very basic start for the black box viewer. This is a black box log from a user on the Discord. And it's just, I believe, a bench run with the motor running and moving the helicopter around. Oh, and this is Linux, and I don't think there's really going to be much difference. It's just a fresh install. It's the only fresh install I had. So, it won't have any of my stuff already done. So this is like starting from scratch. So here's how it, loaded for me just after a fresh install. Scrolling through to where the movement happens. It looks like it defaults with the unfiltered gyro on. So let's go ahead and go down here in the bottom right hand to the graph setup. And we're going to add a field, and we're going to add gyro on top of the unfiltered gyro. Just the plain gyro is after all the software does its thing, all the RPM filters and notch filters and low pass filters. This right here, it shows post all of that stuff after it's all been cleaned up. So we click on that one, and that's going to add all three axes when you just click on gyros. So you save changes, you can see all three of these guys came in here. And you can go in and you can change them all to different colors. We could change unfiltered roll and gyro roll. We could change them to both be red. And make both of these green and both of these yellow. Now the colors kind of match and they overlap each other. But, it doesn't matter a whole lot. What we're really looking for here is the analyzer. What you want to do is you want to look at your unfiltered gyro roll. You want to click right here, and this will pop up the analyzer. And it's just a bench run, so there's not a lot on here, but you can see a few small spikes. And what you want to do is you want to see, this is the unfiltered gyro roll analyzer. And then after that, you want to look at the gyro roll analyzer to see what the filters did. So we click on that, and you can see the filters cleaned up what was there, which wasn't much because it's just a bench run. But, to see the filter cleaned up all the spikes that were here. So there's the unfiltered, and there's the filtered. But looking at this unfiltered, let's say this were an actual run and these spikes, were significant. What you can do is you can hold down the shift button and move your mouse around and line it up the spike. Now you see that the little things popping up there. You can see that's 24 or 28.4 hertz. That'll tell you what the frequency was. We can go over here to this spike. And that one's 126.4 hertz. And what you do with those is, you multiply that number by 60 to change from, hertz per second. And what we want is per minute. So RPM. So you multiply that by 60 and you do 28 by 60. I think I got a calculator in here somewhere. Or not. Oh, very new to Linux. There's a lot of stuff pre-installed on here, but I guess I don't know where the calculator is. But yeah, so it'd be roughly 1800 RPM, I guess. 30 hertz times 60. I think that'd be 1800. In theory, that's what your RPM was doing. But we've modified this this viewer, and we can click right here to close this analyzer out and go back to the normal traces. But we've kind of modified this workspace, so we can go in here and we can save the current graph setup to this workspace, and then we can rename this guy to gyros. And then We can do a different workspace. Go ahead and save this one here, but we'll overwrite everything. We'll rename this one. Rename this one to governor. And in there, we can just get rid of all these guys. And we can add in so we could add in motors. Oh, that was axis label. Whoops. We could add in where's head speed? There it is, head speed. We can add in head speed right there. I guess the axis label doesn't matter. Well, we can see there's the head speed right there, and we can click on the spectrum analyzer here, and we can see, you know, this is useful right down here in the bottom right hand corner. You see the average, and you can divide that number by 60 to get it in hertz, and then you can compare that to your spikes. So you know, if you have an average of 1200 RPM, you divide that by 60, and then you'll know where to look for the spikes on the spectrum analyzer on the gyros. So we can go back to the original workspace, onto the gyros, and I wish I had my calculators. I'm too tired to do math right now. Maybe it's in the KDE packages. There it is. Yep. Okay, so back to the governor workspace. Oh, I didn't save it there. Alright, so I'll have to redo that. You know, just like everything, you forget to hit save and you lose all your stuff. So we'll add a graph, custom graph, so we don't have the label thing. And then we go down to head speed. I'm past it, or where is it? There it is. Okay, so we save changes. And we get rid of the spectrum analyzer. There's our head speed. And save the changes so it'll be there next time. Now, go to gyros. There's your gyros. Go to governor. There's your governor. It's just showing head speed. But you can add in your motors, I think. Yeah, there's motor 1. So you can see, to get your the 1682 RPM right now, the motor is outputting 50%. You know, that's what it was telling the speed controller was 50.5%. But you know, click on the spectrum analyzer, you can see the average was 1213. And then divide that by 60. That's 20 hertz. And we weren't really seeing 20 hertz on that other one because there's no real good spikes because it's just a bench run. You know, in theory, there's 20 hertz. Also, I think what we're seeing here is maybe it's taking a whole average, but it's also showing the spool up. That's another good shortcut. You see, it's including all of this. So it's holding pretty steady RPM here with the little spike there and the spool down. But we can use some more shortcuts. Hit the I button, and that trims off the spool up. And I go over here. Well, let's just take before this spike. And we hit the O button to trim off the outside of it. Now we're just looking at one chunk of good consistent RPM, and now we look at the spectrum analyzer, and now it's showing 1682 as the average. And maybe we see a spike there, 1682 divided by 60, 28 hertz. Yeah, we did see a spike at 28 hertz. Go back to the gyros, workspace, look at the unfiltered. And we got a little spike here at 28 hertz. That's your main rotors. At least on the bench, no main rotors, just running without blades. But yeah, that's your fundamental right there. And you'll see multiples of that. You'll see something at double that when you're flying, when you've got more going on. But anyway, that's the black box from a bench run from the Discord user. I believe Vigor 60 posted this one. But that is, I believe, one from the release candidate 1 for Rotorflight 2. So what I'm gonna do now is less cut and dry, because it's an old black box file that's not from the current release candidate 1 for Rotorflight 2. This is my old Blade 450. And I have no idea what this flight was. It's just one I found that I'd saved. I think this is the what release I was on when I was flying. 2023-0630. So it may not work perfectly with the current black box viewer for release candidate 1. But anyhow, we've got unfiltered gyro, and it is a mess. This is a very old used helicopter. I rebuilt some of the head. You can adjust the graph with these little bars up here. If I turn it all the way down, you can finally see that my tail is making as much of a spike as my main rotor is. I've kind of rebuilt some of the main rotor, but the tail, I think the shaft is bent, but it still flies. I have fun with it. It was a cheap helicopter I traded something for. But, it's a good example of lots and lots of noisy spikes on the analyzer. And then we look at the, let's get it back to kind of the normal. So then click on the post filters, and it cleaned up most of that. That's how I fly a helicopter with a bent, probably a bent tail rotor shaft, is the RPM filter works really, really well. But that's what you want to see. You want to see, if you got vibration showing up in the gyro, the filters will come in and it will knock all that out. That's what you want to see. You want to see all these spikes go away. That tells you that your filters are working. And I can go in and something's wrong here. There's probably a mismatch in the versions in an old log. Let's just take a very, very small chunk and see if it can do anything with it. Oh yeah, average 3,000. Okay, so my governor was holding at 3,000, which is, that's easy math. "50 hertz, that's my fundamental. That's the main rotor. And we got the first spike here that should be close to 50 hertz. Hold the shift button down to get the little line over it. 49.5 is pretty close. And you'll see this one right here. What am I looking at? I think I might be looking at pitch, because this doesn't look as bad. Or maybe I just adjusted it and forgot. But anyhow, see that first one at 50 hertz, and you'll see another one at 100 hertz. That's your second harmonic, and then you might see another one at 150 hertz, and then maybe another one at 200 hertz. And then I believe this is the fundamental for the tail. You take your hertz for your main rotor and multiply it by your tail ratio. I think mine's like 4.5-ish to 1. And that's where you see the worst, the part of the helicopter I haven't worked on yet. Well, that's one of the best parts about Rotorflight is the black box. You can see all sorts of cool stuff you didn't even know you wanted to see. But let's set up another workspace, one that I like to set up. I'll set these up for each axis. Save our current workspace to it just to make another workspace. And I'll call this one, whoops, I'm not doing what I think I'm doing. Roll response. Okay, so I've got this one. I'll go in and I'll edit my graphs, get rid of all this, and I'll add a custom graph. And let's do set point roll, gyro roll, and let's throw the I term for roll in there, just to start with. And we'll close out the analyzer so we can look at the traces. So, conveniently enough, I've got a roll kind of queued up here. But you can see the set point here in red. And this is the gyro. This is what I'm asking it to do. And this is what it's doing. And this is the I term. If the I term's staying relatively neutral, mostly means you've got your feed forward tuned right. This one isn't picking a direction and running with it. It's kind of staying kind of tied to the neutral line. So I think, it's a pretty good indicator of that. You can see it almost goes a little too far this way on the stop, but I'm pretty happy with that. But I set these up for all the axes. I'll do one for roll response, one for pitch response, one for yaw response. And that's good for doing a roll or a pyro or a flip and looking and seeing how well you're tracking. And for a helicopter, I'm pretty happy with this. This feels pretty good when I'm flying it. It looks like it's not really following that line real well, but compared to any other flybarless I've flown, it does. It follows it pretty well. And I don't even know how I had this one tuned. Like I say, this is an old flight I found saved somewhere, and it's not the right version. I'm not matched with current release candidate 1, so things may not scale right. But yeah, that's very, very basic black box. I'm not a wizard at it, but I know how to use it well enough to get my helicopters to fly to my liking. Yeah, there's that. Hope it helps. Hopefully it wasn't too rambling and confusing.